Hey everybody, exciting video today. We are counting down 10 great books that are safe investments that you can make, whether that is, books that have good return on investment or books that are really stable. If you caught the first half of this video, it's actually a collaboration with Bry from BRY'S Comics. So as you can see, he's here on screen with me. We are picking up right where we left off from the first 5 over on his channel. So thank you for joining us over here on the Como Comics channel. If you didn't catch the first half, here's the thing. Head over to BRY'S channel and check it out. Okay, we've got 5 great picks that are already up over there. And on top of all that, we're not just doing this to have fun. We're doing this to give a little love to the community. Bry has a giveaway. So I'm going to throw it over to him before we get into the last 5 books. He's going to tell you what you can win for only liking this video, his video, and subscribing to both of our channels. I mean, that's a pretty fair price of entry, I think. Bry, what do you say?
I mean, free 99. You can't beat free, right?
Yeah. Sign me up.
And thank you so much for having me, Drew. It's obviously, honestly, my pleasure to be here on the Como Comics channel. I've been a fan of your channel for a long time, so I'm glad that we can finally make this happen. And so for the giveaway, if this is the first video you've watched in the collab, this will be news to you. We have Amazing Spider-Man number 55, that Patrick Gleason classic webhead cover, the cover that started it all, CGC 9.8. And in addition to that, you get some cool BRY'S comic swag if you want it. If you don't want the hat, let me know. I'll give it to somebody else. But
I mean, hell, send me one.
Oh, for sure. You're definitely getting one for sure.
I'm just preparing myself for, some of the love letters I'll get in the comments wanting to know where the Como swag is. And we're getting close. We're getting close. And so if you did see that giveaway book on the first video over on the BRY'S Comics channel, I'm sorry, but you're welcome, because every time you get to see that book, it's kind of a treat because it's that great of a cover. Yeah. But now let's go ahead and get into the list, and I'm going to turn it over to Bry. He's going to kick us off.
All right. So first up, we have Marvel Spotlight number 32 from February of 1977. This is the first appearance of Spider-Woman in Jessica Drew and the first appearance and death of Otto Vermis. This book came out right after there was a legal battle with DC Comics, and I believe it was DC came out with Marvel Boy right after Marvel had released Marvel Man, something along those lines. And so Stan Lee thought, oh crap, we have Spider-Man. If we don't put Spider-Woman out there, DC's going to come out with Spider-Woman. So they rushed to get this book out. They didn't think it through. They just got it out. I love that. I love that about this book. It's got history to it. And it explains why it took them, a little while to develop the character and why she's had so many different faces throughout the years. I have a recommended grade on this book for a 9.0 because I think there's some really great deals to be had there. And here's the long story short on why this made it on the best investment list for this. All signs are pointing towards Spider-Woman showing up in a live-action film very soon. She is also confirmed to show up in the Into the Spider-Verse 2 with Issa Rae voicing. And this is a weird situation where Sony and Marvel actually share the rights to her. Essentially, Sony Pictures may depict Jessica Drew as Spider-Woman, and Marvel may only use her without any Spider-Man related elements. So that means that Sony alone can use Jessica Drew as Spider-Woman, while Marvel can presumably use her as a detective, spy, or Avenger. It was all part of a deal that Sony and Marvel worked out way back in the day. And here's the thing, it's changing all the time too. That could be different. They could have a different legal arrangement by the time this video comes out. And there are also strong rumors that Marvel plans to use her as an Avenger soon. And there's even a rumor that Emilia Clarke could be playing Spider-Woman in the Secret Invasion show on Disney Plus, because it's confirmed that she's cast for that show. We just don't know who she is, but most likely it'll be either Veronki, Spider-Woman, and Abigail Brand. And so imagine what that would do to the price of this book if Emilia Clarke reprises the role as Spider-Woman.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. It's like, imagine, she can't be Spider-Woman. She can be a Skrull.
Yep. There you go. But here's the thing about all of that, about the licensing, about who owns the rights and all that. In my opinion, none of that matters, because I think this should be a long-term hold. As the character and time progresses, the movie rights will probably flip-flop all over the place, but we'll always have Spider-Woman. And this will always be the first appearance of the character, even if they do spin-offs and pass the mantle. And so you can get a 9.0 for under $500, and sometimes there is great deals to be had for more around the 350, 400 range. So if you're patient, you stand a good chance to get a good deal in this grade of 9.0. As you go up in grade, there are less copies and much more consistent sales, so it's harder to find a bargain. As you go down in grade, there are way more copies, making the sales kind of permanently volatile. So that's why I think 9.0 is a great place to be. Plus, you might get lucky and find a good crack press resubmit candidate. So
Definitely. And 9.0's, it's a pretty good balance between presentation and affordability. So in my opinion, you really can't go too wrong with a 9.0 if you're just looking for something to, fill that hole in your collection. So
yeah, for sure.
Very cool. Great book. All right, our next book is Daredevil 131. This is the first appearance of Bullseye. Well, let's get technical. It's the first appearance of Bullseye 2. We're not talking about that weird guy that showed up in Nick Fury back in the 60s. We are talking about Daredevil's second arch nemesis. Unfortunately for him, he showed up at a point in time where the Daredevil book really wasn't very good, but thankfully for all of us, it was really close to the time when a little guy named Frank Miller was getting ready to take over this book, and Bullseye was really the best tool that Frank Miller had in the toolbox when he got to Daredevil, in my opinion. A crazy villain is just a great villain, in my opinion, and that's Bullseye. He's absolutely off his rocker. In my opinion, it's a hard to find book. And this is purely based on my experience. If you have a different experience, I'm happy for you, because I've had a hard time finding this thing in the wild. If I go to a show, I may find 1-2 copies at the most that are available for purchase. And usually the people who have them know that, so they lean in pretty heavy on price. But right now, the price isn't too bad. This is one of those books that we're really going to be able to lean into grade-wise compared to the rest of the list, because right at that kind of $1,000 mark we've been talking about, you can pick up a CGC 9.6. The average price for a 9.6 over the last 90 days is $1,087. The last sale was just right there. It was $1,080, and that was this month. You can pick up a 9.4 copy for $726 based on the 90-day average. The last sale was a little bit higher, so it's kind of keeping that number up. But last month in June 2021, a copy sold for $851. Raw, this one's kind of all over the map. If you look at eBay sold, they're all over the place. It's hard to lock down, but $300 to $350 seemed to be kind of a ceiling for Raw books for the most part. Daredevil 1 is through the roof. There's all this speculation in the market that, are we going to get Charlie Cox back? Is he going to be recast? Where are we going to see Matt Murdock and or Daredevil? I don't know. And when I'm thinking about positioning myself to capitalize off of an increase in popularity for Daredevil, I think of 3 books. Daredevil #1, obvious, that thing's through the roof at this point. Amazing Spider-Man 50 is next. That thing is also blowing up. And the third book is Daredevil 131, which compared to those two is an absolute steal for comparable monies. It's just insane what you can get for the same money as far as a high grade Daredevil 131 goes compared to a beater copy of Amazing Spider-Man 50.
I love your point about a crazy villain makes the best villain. You look at the first few panels here up on the screen. He throws a paper airplane with a little note on it through to this guy that says, "Pay me $100,000 or I will kill you." Bullseye. I mean, short and sweet, to the point. Best note ever. The guy opens
There's no
it.
room for confusion in that.
Yeah, pay me $100,000 or I kill you. And then the guy, turns out he didn't have any cash on hand, so he kills him. It's
with
like
a pin.
Oh snap! This guy means business, and so I agree with you. He's just an absolute, no pun intended, a killer villain.
I mean, can we just say that John Wick got his moves from Bullseye? I killed him with a pin.
Yeah,
Crazy.
Right through the neck. All right, so next up we have Marvel Premiere number 15 from May of 1974. This is the first appearance and origin of Iron Fist, the first appearance of UT, a Dragon Lord, as you can see in that panel over there, first team appearance of the Dragon Kings, and the first appearance of Harold Meacham, and the death of Heather and Wendell Rand. Such an incredibly important book to the legacy of Iron Fist in general. And this book has been on a roller coaster ride the past few years. As most people know, there was a Netflix show that came out in 2016 that was pretty poorly done. The actor that played Iron Fist left something to be desired. It only got 37% of Rotten Tomatoes. And the biggest fault I would say the show had is it was painfully slow, like mostly dialogue and lacking the action that one would expect from a Marvel show or movie. It's only now finally coming out of its lull, and I think the potential for this book has only just begun. Iron Fist has had many different iterations in the comics, so there are many different ways that they could reintroduce the character, but I think the most likely scenario is in a team appearance with Luke Cage as part of the Heroes for Hire team. The same day that I was researching this book for this video, the hashtag show announced a rumor that Marvel was looking to recast Luke Cage and Iron Fist for a Heroes for Hire project to be debuted on Disney+. And although it's just a rumor at this point, they reported a whole bunch of details from their inside source, and it does make perfect sense that they would do this show and that they would recast the two characters, a fresh start. If this rumor is true, there's still plenty of time to be patient and find a good deal for this book because the show will be a long ways out. This year alone, the 9.8 has almost tripled in price with a low of $3,700 and a high of $9,600.
Wow.
And while that's out of reach for most people, I think it's important to look at the 9.8 because it's kind of like the pack leader for the rest of the prices for the book. To put that in perspective, Special Marvel Edition, first appearance of Shang-Chi, and a 9.8 just had a record-breaking sale of $15,700. So these are very similar books, same genre, same era, similar characters, similar print runs, and similar census numbers. So I think that Iron Fist has huge room to grow. In my opinion, the other grades for the first Iron Fist just haven't caught up to the 9.8 sales yet, and they certainly haven't tripled in value this year. So to keep things around the $1,000 range, a very respectable 9.0 had a most recent sale of $750 with a high of $900 and a low of $371 this year. So deals can be found. I believe in this book so much. It's actually the most valuable book in my collection.
Wow.
Where do I have it? Yeah, I
see it. Yeah.
Yeah, 9.6 signed by Stan Lee. Yeah, I just think drastically undervalued and huge upside on this one.
Yeah, I've got a nice copy in my PC too. I've got a 9.2. I bought it and slabbed it before I knew what pressing was. So it's got some room to grow, I think. Of course, I'm not going to be able to get a Stan signed copy like you've got, but it's a book I've really liked for a while as well. I'm on record in multiple different videos for sharing my lack of enjoyment of the Iron Fist Netflix show, and you hit the nail on the head when you described this book's trajectory over the last several years as being a roller coaster. It's had some of the highest highs and definitely the lowest lows, and it's still a book. If I find it at what I think is a good price, I pick it up just to sit on it, because I do have faith that eventually we're going to get it right. The Netflix show, to me, we had 20 seconds of like an actual Iron Fist, and that was the archive footage they found. I'm not going to apologize for spoilers at this point. If you haven't seen it, stay there. Just don't subject yourself to that. I think this is a great sandbox to play in, whether you go with like the Daughters of the Dragon, Misty Knight. There's that. There's all the team up books that are still out there that there's so much room in so many different places that a book like Marvel Premiere 15 can lead you. My next book is Fantastic Four number 46. This is a January 1966 Marvel classic. You've got that great team up of Stan Lee on the story, Jack Kirby art, and let's be honest, they are dead center of one of comics' greatest creative partnerships at this point. 2 months from this, you get Galactus and the Silver Surfer. It's just everything they are throwing against the wall is sticking, and it's great. And this issue is important because it's the first appearance of Black Bolt, who is the leader of the Inhumans, who we meet for the first time in issue 45, just the month previous. They're also in this issue, so they're making their second appearance. And you get a Black Bolt cover on top of that. It's classic Kirby, and you also get the first appearance of Seeker, which is another Inhuman. Inhumans are one of those things like mutants. There's just, you got to do a roll call. There are so many of them to keep track of. But this book is similar to Marvel Premiere 15 in the fact that it's really taken a beating along with Fantastic Four 45 based on underperforming television shows, right? The Inhumans show on ABC, it's the only thing Marvel's put out that I haven't watched. All the feedback I heard on it was so bad, it's like, I'm not even going to try it. Yeah. Which is a shame, because Lockjaw has to be one of the most lovable characters in all of Marvel comics. Maybe I'm just showing my cards as a dog guy, but what can you say? Talking money, this is one of those books that it's surprising what you can get for your dollar. Right now, the 90-day average on a CGC 8.5. So this is a January 1966 Marvel book. And 8.5 is averaging $1,066. And the last sale was for over $100 less than that this month at $965. That is crazy for a 1966, like the beginning of 1966 Marvel. I just can't get over that. And at 8.0, it doesn't fall off that much. 90-day average is $758, with the last sale being only $600, and that was last month. High grade raw copies, you're going to run around 1,000 or 1,100, but I think it's just inevitable that as more and more Marvel projects come out, we start expanding on different properties, you're going to see the Inhumans pop back up. And, if Marvel and the MCU can make the Eternals interesting and get that whole wing of Marvel off the ground, the sky's the limit with the Inhumans, in my opinion.
Yeah, if you get even a hint at any kind of Inhuman news, watch this book double overnight. I mean, and especially, like you said, I mean, you nailed it on the head. When you look at the counterparts for this book of the same era, or the same, level of importance of book, it's about half the price of what its counterparts are doing. I thought the same thing when I look at prices for this. I go, wait, what? And when you look at the year, it just doesn't. It's a 12-cent Fantastic Four. I mean, and not
it's the oldest book on the list by far.
Yeah. And check out that splash page there with the Jack Kirby goodness. I mean, my goodness, the art on these Jack Kirby books are just incredible. All right, so we had the first appearance of Iron Fist in Marvel Premiere, and you can't do Iron Fist without Luke Cage. So we have Luke Cage, Hero for Hire #1 from June of 1972. This is the first appearance and origin of Luke Cage. It's the first black superhero to headline a title in mainstream comics. So this is about 5 years before Black Lightning over at DC. And it's the first appearance of Diamondback, Comanche, and Shades. And this made it onto my list for the same reason as the first Iron Fist. And it has a lot of similarities because it was released about 2 years before the first Iron Fist in June 1972. But one significant thing about this first Luke Cage book is the scarcity of high-grade copies. So there are only 12 CGC 9.8s on the census compared to Iron Fist's 76. That is a really low number for a 20-cent book. What do you think about that number? 12 CGC 9.8s.
Yeah, and it's all color choice, man. The picture frame Marvel issues are notorious for being scarce and high grade whenever that background is black or even the red pops. This book has a creamy brown, dark brown background, and it's just as unforgiving as those other colors for spine breaks and stuff. So I'm not surprised at all that they're that scarce and great.
Yeah, but it's not just the 9.8. There are 487 Blue Label Hero for Hire #1s at CGC 9.0 and above, and compare that to 1,350. So 487 versus 1,350 for Marvel Premiere 15 Blue Labels at 9.0 and above. So there's almost 2/3 less copies of high-grade Hero for Hire #1s. And the really interesting thing is it's reflected in the price almost exactly. Luke Cage Hero for Hire #1 is about 3 times the price of first Iron Fist. So it's almost directly proportional to the difference in availability copies. I thought
that's cool.
Yeah, super interesting.
I mean, as a data nerd, you've always got to appreciate finding trends and things like that.
Yeah, when it lines up like that, it's so gratifying, right?
Yeah.
So this book peaked back in 2016 when the Netflix show came out, saw a steady decline in prices for years until 2020 when the market picked back up in general, and only recently surpassed the 2016 Netflix high prices. But I have noticed that prices have started to pull back just a little bit for this book, which is perfect timing, because if they do that Disney Plus show with Luke Cage and Iron Fist, and then go on to use them in even more MCU properties, it could be the last time we see prices this low. I personally have always wanted this book for the PC, and I am definitely on the hunt for one. Hopefully I don't shoot myself in the foot by doing this video. So what do you think about them recasting the character? Personally, I really liked Mike Coulter in the role of Luke Cage. I had no problems with him, so I was kind of bummed when I heard that they were going to reprise the role. And here's the thing, too. This brings up a really good point. I see some signed copies of this, signed by Mike Coulter.
Yeah.
Maybe you shouldn't have your super expensive Marvel keys signed by actors that might not even hold the mantle for that long.
I've got a tangent on that, and just quickly, I saw a 9.0 Superman 1 signed by Henry Cavill. Who the hell does that? Don't do that. So yeah, great point. Don't have actors sign your comics. Just for the next person who's going to own that book, just let's stay away from that. But do what you want. It's your book.
If it's your book, if it's in your PC, that's your favorite actor. That will always be your favorite actor, and you never want to sell it. Okay, but let's be honest. Nothing in your collection do you ever really never want to sell, right? I mean, you always have to have your stuff liquid. I mean, you have to be able to have the option to, and so. Anyways, yeah, interesting little side point there.
Yeah, definitely. But as far as Mike being recast, I thought the first half of Luke Cage was fantastic. Like up until the point where they killed Cottonmouth, I thought it was unbelievable. The second half I didn't think was as strong as the first half, but it was still really enjoyable for me. I thought he did a great job with it. I don't know how, with it being so closely associated with Iron Fist from that same universe, I don't know how much stink rubs off on the partner character. So I get it. It's a complicated thing to work through. So I think he really did the character justice when he did it. If that's all he gets, that's unfortunate. I think he could have done more with the character, but in future projects, but it kind of is what it is. It's the nature of the beast, I guess.
All right, you guys, don't forget to subscribe to both channels, comment on both videos, and like both videos, and you're entered to win this CGC 9.8 ASM 55 Patrick Gleason webhead cover and the BRY'S Comics swag. Subscribe to both channels, comment on both videos, and you are entered to win.
Definitely. Thank you, Bry, for hooking everybody up with those giveaway items. I'm sure the community is going to love it. I've really enjoyed having you on the channel today, and I think we made some really great picks for this list, and hopefully there's some books that the people out in the community will enjoy. If you are not familiar with BRY'S Comics, be sure to head over to his channel. If for nothing else, check out the first half of this list, because right now you've only got half the goods if you haven't already seen it. So he puts out great content on the regular, does a lot of good spec videos. He talks a lot about modern stuff that I don't cover. So if that's something you're looking for that you're not getting out of my channel, you're going to find that over on BRY'S Comics. So it's great to really embrace the whole community of content creators that are out there, because we're all going to give you something a little bit different. So head over to BRY'S Comics and sub him up. If you're here because of BRY'S Comics, thank you. I hope you enjoyed your time here on Como Comics. And if you want to hit that subscribe button on your way out, I talk about books like I talked about today on the regular. I'm a big back issue, silver, bronze, copper, whatever fan, and that's where I focus. So I'll invite you to stick around for some more goodness. But again, Bri, just thank you for reaching out and saying, hey, let's get together. I had a great time, and don't be surprised when you find an invitation in your inbox from me.
Of course, I appreciate it, Drew. It was my pleasure, and look forward to doing it again.
Great. All right, everybody. We'll see you in the next one.